So welcome again very, very much to all of you. We are very pleased to have you all here. Of course, AI in the language classroom and AI in our life has become a very important and challenging topic. And we can't avoid kind of dealing with it. Yes, we can't avoid developing an attitude or developing also a practice in the classroom. And I'm very pleased to have two speakers here to welcome them very warmly. It's Cesare Zanca from the Language Center and from the Department of the Università di Siena. Cesare is both a director and a teacher and a researcher. So I think he has done research in technologies and languages, e-learning, and also some research on AI in the classroom. So this will be, of course, of big interest to all of us. And I also very warmly welcome Marta Demchyshyn. She is a Deputy Director of the Language Center and teacher for English of the Center for Modern Foreign Languages at the Ukrainian Catholic University in Lviv. So we have different backgrounds, different linguistic backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds and professional backgrounds. I'm very happy that you will represent also a certain diversity. In the abstract, you could also read that, from the abstract, you could understand that the topics the two speakers are going to touch upon will be slightly different and probably also overlapping. And we would like to proceed as follows. We will give the first floor to Cesare, and he will have a talk for 30 minutes, and you will then have the chance just to react, to ask questions. But we would like then to reserve the discussion to the very end. So then afterwards, after Cesare's talk and your questions and short comments, I will invite and give the floor to Marta, and she will do her presentation. And again, you can react to her presentation and ask questions. And then we will open up the floor for a summary, wrapping up discussion, where you, of course, also can bring in your experience and also your opinion and attitudes towards the topic. So once again, a big thank you to the two speakers for being ready to share their experience, reflections, and research with us. The floor is yours, Cesare.
Thank you very much, Sabine, and thank you for the opportunity to share our experiences and ideas about this very, very important topic. I will share my screen now. Hope you can see it.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does it work? Good.
Yes.
So the use of artificial intelligence in the classroom, and the question is, do we still need to teach foreign languages? Of course, it's a bit provocative. I will introduce very briefly the idea of artificial intelligence as a revolution. We know it has been presented by that. And then I will do a parallel between what happened with mathematic calculators, electronic calculators in the last century, and what is happening now with artificial intelligence as a new sort of language calculator. And then I will focus on artificial intelligence, pay attention to what we can do with artificial intelligence more than on what artificial intelligence can do for us, which is an approach I've read many times. I would like to reverse that a bit and think about what happens. There's another link that is natural for me. I've been working with data-driven learning for learning foreign languages and corpus-based activities. So I will also create a connection there. I will give some examples of artificial intelligence used by teachers and by learners. And then I will draw some conclusions based on the fact that there are two different ways of using artificial intelligence. One is more passive, and the other one, the one that I think we should encourage, is more active, enhancing agency, awareness, and autonomy in language learning. So let's start from revolution. I don't need to say that. I've just found on the web so many books and articles about ChatGPT and artificial intelligence presented as a revolution that will transform our lives in the near future. There are, of course, many issues, many ethical issues that are very important. Biased and inaccurate outputs we get from artificial intelligence, privacy violations in the databases, plagiarism, cheating through artificial intelligence, copyright infringement, unequal distribution of the resources, the fact that artificial intelligence, as we know it, is basically English-based and then sort of copied in other languages. That creates some problems. The power of the owners of these software, these tools, of these devices, and the fact that we do not really know what we input in artificial intelligence, and now this input comes out as an output, a sort of black box syndrome. To the point that some figures like Steve Wozniak and Elon Musk recently called for a pause in developing artificial intelligence technologies before we know some more about what are the consequences of adopting artificial intelligence. There are very important issues. We have no time to delve into them in this context. More or less, we know that it will change our perception of life and also of the language learning process. That seems to become a bit more mechanical, a bit less human mediated. It will transform the job of teachers and the requirements by the stakeholders that we have to deal with, ministries, institutions, but also employers, and so on, and also our language centers. How will it change it? I have some ideas, some personal opinions that I would like to share. A parallel that I found fruitful was to describe the impact of artificial intelligence, comparing it with the impact of electronic calculators that they had on teachers of mathematics in the last century. We know that language is not mathematical calculations, is not an exact science, and is not predictable. But we know that these artificial intelligence-based language calculators, as we could call them, seem to provide the user with results that sound natural in a second language or in our first language. Let's take an example.
Gate 6 wearing a gray shirt. I'll pick you up in 2 minutes.
Oh, sorry. Translate calls just like that. This is the message that comes from this advertising. They are very similar, if you think about that, to what happens with mathematical calculators. Pocket calculators. We have them in our pockets. We have these devices in our pockets. We prompt them with some queries and we get output that solves our linguistic problem. We can think that this sort of calculator will be able to influence our use of foreign languages in the near future. So if you want to know what and how language learning, artificial intelligence will change language learning or will do for language learning, of course, you can ask artificial intelligence. And you can get from ChatGPT the fact that it can help with text generation and correction, conversation practice using written conversation, but also spoken conversation using the right plugins, vocabulary expansions, cultural and contextual learning, listening and comprehension. Very important and relevant elements in language learning. And of course, ChatGPT is also trained to be very polite and friendly. So in the end, it will tell you that you should remember that artificial intelligence is not enough, and it's essential to balance it with other methods, real-life conversation practice, listening to native speakers, and so on. But I don't think it's so relevant, as I mentioned before, to ask ourselves what artificial intelligence can do for us, because it will change. In the near future, there will be many, many more things that artificial intelligence will be able to do. I'm more interested in what we, users and teachers and learners of foreign languages, can do with artificial intelligence starting from now. Assuming that our abilities to use artificial intelligence will be a requirement by the future employers, maybe even more than our competence in the foreign language. So if I go back to my calculator similarity, I discovered that this idea is not very, very original. For example, an interesting article by Urlaub and Desain draws a parallel between the pocket calculator and the disruptive impact of not artificial intelligence, in particular, like Google Translate in translation courses. And some considerations in the article are interesting. For example, the fact, sorry, I cannot read that. The pocket calculator needed about 20 years to become an established, uncontroversial tool used by millions of students and embraced by many of their teachers across middle and high school classrooms in America. 20 years to become an established tool used by, sorry.
The pocket calculator.
Or the fact that the gradual and intentional implementation of the pocket calculator into the educational system coincided with a rethinking of educational objectives. This is particularly interesting. The introduction of this tool changed the educational objective, permitting higher level goals and de-emphasizing basic arithmetic skills, and also focusing more on solving mathematical problems rather than teaching basic arithmetical skills through a combination of mathematical thinking and human-machine collaboration. In our case, we could talk about a possible combination of linguistic thinking and human-machine collaboration. This is what we'll outline later. So it took 20 years. We cannot think of this kind of timing in our days. We need to work much, much quicker. There was in the article also an appeal to take action. We need institutions, stakeholders to help teachers to do something quickly. And that's where CercleS maybe or national associations can help or should help the teachers. And also this focus on solving problems with a combination of linguistic skills and human-machine collaboration to enhance the level of the goals of our courses, language courses, is something that I find particularly interesting and stimulating. We know that ChatGPT is not actually a pocket calculator. Google Translate is not artificial intelligence. Just to outline some differences, I found this table here where there are differences in the kind of output from numbers to human-like prose based on context given by the user. The fact that the output is not predictable in artificial intelligence, that artificial intelligence allows for new output that has never been seen before, or that it could also produce false information. So there are differences. I know that we can create with artificial intelligence this human-machine collaboration and interaction based on our prompts, that we get human-like results. These results can also be not reliable, at least, and that we can elevate the kind of interaction we have with these machines. There is a sort of new, I'm particularly interested in this new dimension of human-machine collaboration, where there are skills that become very important. The ability to prompt the machine, the calculator, and that we can interact with the calculator, with the machine. We need to interpret the kind of output we get from the machine, and then maybe we have to reinterpret the output in different contexts, creating or negotiating the meaning we get in different contexts, and that we have to be critical in this kind of evaluation. This kind of skills become particularly important, in my opinion, in this kind of interaction. And most educational and contexts and workplaces will probably require these skills, these abilities, even more, as I mentioned before, of real foreign language competence, because most of the basic competence will come from machines. So in a way or another, new teaching, we have to face new teaching goals that should include these operational skills in the learning path. How we can do that? My suggestion is based on data-driven learning, as I mentioned, and the use of corporate online tools to enhance foreign language learners' awareness and autonomy. Again, this is a sort of human-machine interaction. In my courses, we use corpora, linguistic corpora, data coming from online tools and corpora to deal with conversational and linguistic themes. It's based on the exploration of contexts that can be linguistic and extra-linguistic. And this is done also to enhance the autonomy and awareness, fluency of the students. The focus is on higher level linguistic elements like discursive patterns, real examples of use, collocations, phraseology, cultural elements, stylistic elements, discursual elements, textual features, and so on. And on the fact that these features need interpreting, need critical thinking. This can be done by enhancing the level of the approach with language through metalinguistic interaction. In this perspective, artificial intelligence is a new tool that, to a certain extent, can facilitate this kind of approach and exploration. But the prompting, the query you can make on corpora and on artificial intelligence, the contextualized interpreting of the results, and reinterpreting in the light of the context of use is very similar. This discovery attitude, exploration attitude is very similar. In my opinion, what we can do with artificial intelligence is basically using these higher level language exploration possibilities. I think this can be very profitable, and artificial intelligence can promote and encourage autonomous language explorations, adopting the similar approach to data-driven learning. So we can create activities based on the ability to prompt. I used before with corpus linguistics querying. Now we have a prompting skill. The use or knowledge of the appropriate meta-language. Students need to know what they look for when they use artificial intelligence in an active way. The ability to interact with data, with the output, and negotiate to the context, the output. The ability to contextualize and personalize the interaction with artificial intelligence, and to critically analyze the results, maybe sometimes using corpus linguistic tools that are in some instances more reliable than artificial intelligence. So now let's go to the examples after all this presentation of the methodology and background ideas. At the Siena Language Center, we have started a collaborative space for sharing ideas about the use of artificial intelligence in our courses. And I took from there a few examples from our teachers. For example, we use artificial intelligence to create, to write teaching materials. A prompt could be, you are an English language teacher and you want to create a grammar exercise for your students. Your task is to write a grammar exercise on question formation. You must write multiple choice exercise with which tests the word in question for students who are A2. Your students are university undergraduates in Italy and so on. Do you understand? And of course, ChatGPT understands and produces an answer. This is, of course, an example of prompting, including specific participants. The prompting is also personalized. There's a problem referred to Italian students at that particular level, and then there is a sort of interaction in the prompting. Do you understand? And of course, ChatGPT answers collaboratively. Certainly understand your quest. Here's a multiple choice grammar exercise on question formation, and it starts creating the exercise. That, of course, might require a further step of negotiation, of adapting, of editing. An example of instructions for students in our blended courses, where we encourage students to use artificial intelligence as part of their activities. Go to ChatGPT, insert the following prompt. Please give me a list of 5 common phrasal verbs and so on. Post your list in the forum of the course and invent 2 sentences using 2 of the phrasal verbs. Read the list posted by your classmates and take note of any new phrasal verb you learn with an example. And this is the result you get. The students, in this case, will get from ChatGPT. Look up and all the phrasal verbs with examples. Or we could give feedback to the students. You can tell ChatGPT that ChatGPT is an English language teacher who gave students a written task for Cambridge B1 preliminary exam. The task is, this is part of a letter you see from English friend and so on. And then you ask ChatGPT to comment, to give feedback to the student who wrote a particular text as part of the activity. Another example of how teachers can use ChatGPT by prompting correctly and including all the contextual features in the question. What can learners do with artificial intelligence? In this case, I consider what they can do outside the classroom. We can only now think about different possibilities. We don't know what they will be actually able to do in the near future. I took some examples from online web pages. And for example, here we have somebody saying, I am an elementary student of French. I would like to start learning French with your help. Can you create a study plan for me with activities I can do 1 hour a day on my own or with your help? And you get from ChatGPT a list of activities, 10 minutes, 20 minutes activities the student can do in this study plan. It's not perfect, but we know that artificial intelligence evolves quickly. Or let's have a back and forth chat in Spanish at this level about Lord of the Rings. So personalized conversations that you can start with artificial intelligence. I'm an intermediate Spanish student, B1, recommend some books, series, movies, and music at my level that I can use to improve my Spanish. In this case, among the books readings suggested, there's also Don Quixote de la Mancha. I'm not particularly sure it is at B1 level, but again, artificial intelligence learns quickly. Tell me how to make this sentence more natural in Spanish. Voy a tener un buen tiempo en la fiesta. And you get examples of more fluent, more natural texts. Teach me advanced Spanish vocabulary, C1 for getting a haircut. In this case, there's a question of vocabulary. These are examples from the web. I would like to go back to my courses now. Remember, I ask students to explore linguistic problem, and included with contextual feature, extra linguistic features through online tools and corpus linguistics in order to foster their autonomy, awareness, and fluency. Of course, in these courses, they need some guidance. They need some ideas about what kind of linguistic features they could look for, some meta-language, some methodology. And I stress the fact that they need to use the results with a cautious attitude. They need to criticize the results they get from the web and adapt them to the particular context. Again, some examples. Before that, I have to say that when I started using artificial intelligence, they looked like a natural outcome, a natural step forward in what I did with corpus linguistics and online tools. They look like a natural evolution of data-driven learning activities. As we outlined before, in both cases, students, users need an evaluation of the results. And this evaluation can be done also using corpus linguistic tools. The approach is also similar. The students use artificial intelligence and online tools as helpers, advisors, not as doers, not as mechanical calculators. And there is an emphasis, again, on critical thinking, evaluation of results, and awareness. Some examples, again, activities that deal with linguistic problems at a higher level. And I think translation tasks can be very helpful in this case to outline the differences in different linguistic systems, different linguistic features. A possible query, possible prompting of artificial intelligence would be, can you edit a text considering the final version should be by B2 level learner of English? And I got a text of our students here and a more fluent text given by ChatGPT, but not a perfect text, not a professionally written text. There are some features that can be attributed to a student, not to a native speaker writing an academic text. Lexis, phraseology and patterns. Please give me a list of tense or expression as C-word English commonly used in academic writing to criticize these theories. In my course of academic English, this could be very useful when the students do their texts. And of course, you get very quickly a list of words that are used to criticize previous works and some examples. Ask ChatGPT to give you a glossary which is specific to a particular text, terms of dentistry in this case, in English and Italian, and you get a very short in this case, but very specific glossary in less than no time. You can ask for more specific in this glossary elements, for example, some additional terms related to dental pain, and you get a even more specific glossary. In this case, there is an example of interaction. You go from a first result to a more specific question. You can ask, as in corpus linguistics you normally do, to ask ChatGPT to create concordances where your linguistic element is in context. And so some examples using accesso dentale in context, in English, in Italian, with the kind of co-text, the elements that come together with our linguistic feature. You can also ask the software to do another corpus linguistic basic operation to create collocates. So words that collocate with the word we are dealing with. So the collocates of accesso dentale are, you do not need to open a corpus and look for these features in a corpus. You ask ChatGPT and you get some collocates.
Okay,
Cesare,
I
yes?
would like to invite you, yes, you have almost used up your time, just to come to, or to mention.
The conclusions. Okay, thank you. Very quickly, examples, you can ask the ChatGPT to give you metalinguistic information like hedging, and to correct X in terms of hedging. That was the last example. What was your reaction to these examples? Would you have asked different, more questions? where the questions related to your specific context. This is, in my opinion, exactly the added value of these language calculators. You can interact, you can adapt them, you can promote the agency, the ability to use different higher level features of language and deal with them together in collaboration with these tools. So you go from a more passive use of these tools, where you are just a user, to a more active use, where you are more discourse explorer and use these tools as helpers, advisors. So you go from what we got from the Samsung ad, where you just use it as a machine waiting for you, to tools that help you progress in the analysis and use of language. And this is what I'm particularly interested in. So to conclude, calculators will solve an impressive number of linguistic problems. You cannot deny them that. For example, calling a taxi when you are in Thailand and in Thai. But there are many risks connected to the emphasis of these tools as calculators, as doers. Future employers might require the ability to use them more than to be competent in a language. Online communication will require us to be able to use these tools effectively. And learning might be reduced to something that can be done. Foreign languages can be dealt with machines. And there's a comparison here to what happened with foreign languages in UK, where nobody wants to study foreign languages any longer because all the world speaks English. Okay, I can skip this one. So in our cases with language centers, I think we can see artificial intelligence as an opportunity we have to do the same thing that was done with electronic calculators for maths. We have to enhance our goals and practices. Language centers should include more and more advice on how to use artificial intelligence tools and resources effectively, actively. But in most cases, students will still want to have teachers as humans and classmates as humans together to learn the foreign language. So ultimately, we cannot avoid artificial intelligence to be used more, also in our on our centers. We have little time to change our syllabuses, to integrate artificial intelligence in our teaching practices. That will be also a good opportunity. We have to try and do that so that we increase critical thinking, awareness, and autonomy, and not passive use of artificial intelligence tools. The ability to use these tools actively will be appreciated, in my opinion, and needed by employers, and data-driven corpus-based learning, these methodologies could be of help. I think that's all, because maybe we have time. No, there was a final example.
You just have a look, Cesare, and then we have to stop here. But yes, we'll all read it.
Okay, so I stop here. Thank you very much. Sorry about
Thank you very much for this, for sharing your research, your thoughts, and which also have an impact on our future work as language center teachers of languages in higher education, of directors, of associations. I will just give you just very few minutes for asking questions. I would like to leave the discussion as announced to the very end, so that also to give Marta the chance and enough time also to share her thoughts. Are there specific questions back to Cesare, to his talk? No discussion yet. Do you have questions? Okay. No? Is it okay for you that so that we start and invite Marta to share her thoughts and then come back? I'm sure you will all have noted in your head on a tool or on a piece of paper some thoughts and reflections you would like to bring in later on. So Marta, the floor is yours. We're looking forward to your talk.
Thank you. Let me share my screen and my presentation.
Yeah.
Just a moment. Yes. Okay. Can you see my presentation?
Yes. Marta, can you switch to the presentation mode that we see only one slide? Is that we can see now?
Yes, it's. I think it just gets behind because of.
Okay.
Can you see it now? The first slide.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right then. So good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Sabina and Anne and all of you colleagues, dear colleagues, for allowing me to be a part of this conversation today and to share my modest experience of using one of the artificial intelligence tools in my work. I'm delighted to be here today, and I'm convinced that our meeting will serve as an excellent forum for fruitful discussion afterwards. So more than a year ago, when I heard about ChatGPT for the first time, I began my exploratory journey. And among the early pieces of information that surfaced in the digital field, I encountered the following statement. The integration of ChatGPT into higher education presents exciting possibilities for students. Its natural language processing capabilities enable students to interact with a conversationally simulating a dynamic and interactive learning experience. Through open-ended questioning and dialogue, students can explore complex topics, receive tailored feedback, and instantly access knowledge. And at that point, I thought, wow, this is marvelous, but what then is my role as a teacher in this grand celebration of intellect? So my first quest for deeper understanding began, and today I would like to share several ideas how this large language model, ChatGPT, might be used in the sphere of foreign language teaching. Okay, I'm going to follow the plan, and I will be happy to hear your comments and your ideas after my presentation. So, of course, the first thing I wanted to know was what is ChatGPT? And an advanced AI large language model designed to understand and generate natural language. It's part of GPT series, which uses learning techniques and to process and produce text in a way that mimics human language patterns. Some of its capabilities are that it can comprehend prompts given by users and generate responses. It can perform a wide range of language tasks, and it can adjust its responses, making it a flexible tool. So among tons of information about ChatGPT, I wanted to know what it is not. So it is not.
Sorry, Marta, for interrupting you. I just read in the chat that it's not possible to see the screen. So I think Could you change to the presentation mode so that the slide will be visible on a full screen level? Like
That's
presentacja, yeah. Yes, here, yeah. Yeah, it's still the same. I don't know.
still the same. Please.
We don't see the full screen, and I think it's difficult because just try again sharing. Yes, I think it's this mode. How do you see it? Do you see a full screen, Marta? Yeah, now, yeah.
Me? Yes.
Yeah, now it's good. Thank you. It's good. Thank you.
So what ChatGPT is not, or what it cannot do, it is not a replacement for a human interaction. While it can simulate conversation and provide information, it cannot replace understanding, empathy, and judgment of a human teacher. It can produce inaccurate and outdated information and may sometimes generate responses that are inappropriate for the context. It doesn't have personal experiences, emotions, or consciousness, and its understanding is purely computational. And this model operates within constraints of its programming and the prompts it receives. It does not have goals, desires, the ability to make decisions. And that was only a small part of the information that I found. But when I started integrating ChatGPT into my language teaching process, I realized that it can significantly enhance both my methods and my students' learning experience. So I firmly decided to turn it from another latest fad into my assisting tool. Students are young people, I thought, who get familiar with AI and technology-driven learning tools very quickly and very easily. And our role as a teacher evolves to leverage these technologies effectively while ensuring that the educational experience remains rich, personalized, and human-centric. So teachers act as facilitators, directing students on how to effectively use AI tools for language learning. We can act as curators of content, selecting AI-generated content that is suitable for the students' learning levels, ensuring that materials are accurate, culturally sensitive, and align with our curriculum goals, and adapting learning materials that cater to the interests and needs of our students. We also can act as mentors and coaches, encouraging collaboration, discussion, and reflection among students. AI tools lack the ability to understand and nurture the emotional and social aspects of learning, a gap we can fill with empathy and interpersonal skills. And we can act as digital literacy advocates, teaching our students how to critically assess information generated by AI, discerning between credible and less reliable content, and encouraging responsible digital citizenship. So the first thing that we should take into consideration is prompts. So a crucial thing is creating a good prompt because it has a great impact on both the quality and relevance of the responses we receive. A well-constructed prompt can make the difference between getting a precise, insightful answer and a broad, often off-target response. So prompts should be crafted in such a way that they effectively communicate our needs to ChatGPT. In my today's presentation, I have placed a number of prompts at your disposal, and I have successfully used all of them, and they might come in handy for you as well. So if you scan the QR code on the last slide of my presentation, you will have permanent access to it, and you will be able to use these prompts as well. So you can see the first prompt here, or for example, the second prompt, generate a dialogue between two students about, and so on. So the first examples of prompts. So the prompts specify the context, participants, language level, and grammatical structures to be included. Or another one, develop a short cultural lesson plan for upper intermediate students on a particular topic, and then include brief description, relevant vocabulary, discussion questions to encourage students' engagement. Another good prompt could be create a themed vocabulary list for advanced students on the topic and particular topic you give. Please provide definitions and example sentences for each of the items. Or for grammar topics, write a classroom activity that would help upper intermediate students better understand the grammar topic of inversion, for example. And we add the particular things that we need the AI to add in our task. So again, the prompt is detailed, specifying the theme level. We request for definitions, examples, making it a tailored resource for students to learn from. So several tips for effective prompts would be specific, clarify, clearly state your teaching objective and students' language level, any particular content or structure you want. Clarity reduces ambiguity and increases the likelihood of receiving a response that meets our expectations. Provide context, give enough background information to guide the tool in generating content that matches our goals. Request details, ask for the type of activity, the grammar point, vocabulary topic, or conversation scenario you need. Set limits. If necessary, specify the length or scope to ensure the response is manageable and focused. And be specific. A well-crafted prompt can save time for you as a user. Instead of going back and forth trying to refine vague or broad questions, a good initial prompt can lead to a successful answer in the first response, making the interaction more efficient. Or if you still don't know how to create a good prompt, you can ask ChatGPT to do it for you. Give me an example of several good prompts about how to create a job interview for intermediate students to practice. And then the tool will offer you a number of accurate and precise prompts to start with. Incorporating ChatGPT and other tools into our class preparation can be beneficial. Traditional textbooks, structured and reliable, often lack the dynamic and current content that keeps students engaged. So AI tools can help bridge this gap by providing real-time interactive examples of language use, which can be more relatable and engaging for students, particularly those who respond well to modern technologies. I use AI tools to prepare for classes to streamline lesson planning. It saves time and allows to be more flexible. So I would like to demonstrate several in-class activities that I planned using ChatGPT. So a little bit about speaking activities, and the first one is debates. So an excellent activity for practicing spoken language, expressing opinions, thinking critically, and the focus shifts from language accuracy to effective communication. So here you can see the first prompt that could be used when planning this activity. Or the second prompt, generate a list of 5 debate questions on the impact of social media on society. And again, we give specific things that we want to see. Or another one, develop a comprehensive guide for conducting a debate for beginner level students on the topic of, and so on. So entering such prompts, you will be offered a detailed plan which will help you to organize this activity. Another speaking activity, job interviews, formulating formal responses, asking questions, discussing the experiences, qualifications in foreign language. Students practice the nuances of professional communication, including politeness and formality. So I would like to present here also several prompts which could be used while planning job interview activities. So create a list of 15 job interview questions suitable for learners, and the questions should cover, or design a role play scenario for a job interview between a candidate applying for a position and so on. Or generate a set of 10 interview questions specific to the field of. Right. Next one is brainstorming session, my favorite activity with students. I start every major topic with this activity because it sparks curiosity, interest in this topic, and boosts the engagement. So using ChatGPT is really helpful while preparing for such sessions. So I usually start from scratch, create a brainstorming session for upper intermediate students on the topic of, for example, urbanization. And here's how ChatGPT proposes to organize this process. So in order not to overwhelm you with all the details, I have here a short itinerary that ChatGPT offered. So as you see, it divided the whole activity into steps, giving the tips where to start, how to conduct the activity, even which prompts to use. It often gives ideas which I might not have considered, provides relevant vocabulary, definitions, examples. It helps me with challenging questions for students and gives me well-rounded and thoughtful setup. But most of all, it saves my time. The whole activity is divided, as you see, into 6 steps, giving hints what to do and on the each step. Then about writing, so teaching writing might be rather challenging, we all know, making it feel like a real burden for us. So providing a detailed feedback, constant search for relevant and interesting topics for students. Integrating ChatGPT into preparation process, I realized that it can significantly alleviate these burdens for me. First of all, it offers a vast array of prompts and exercises. It facilitates making the instructions and creating the evaluation rubrics. You spend less time creating tasks in general. So as I mentioned before, it helps to prepare brainstorming sessions, which are an integral part of starting writing session. So ChatGPT can produce model answering or examples of giving writing styles. Showing these models to students, we can help them understand the structure, vocabulary, tone suitable for different types of writing tasks. Of course, it does not replace the teacher. but it offloads lots of tasks. So while brainstorming sessions are great to kickstart the broad topic, I always conclude with writing assignment. So very often AI comes in handy here as well. So here you see again 2 prompts, how to integrate ChatGPT into our writing teaching process. Another activity I'd like to share is teaching formal and informal language. So create a lesson plan, writing formal, informal letters, include, and so on. Or design a writing task suitable for upper intermediate students, centered around the theme of city regeneration. The task should include, and we again give more specifics to the tool. I often use ChatGPT while assigning article reading tasks to my students, and I attach the PDF or other file or link to the web page with an article I'm going to work on. I create a prompt specifying the tasks I am going to assign and do with my group. So it helps me with pre-reading tasks, which are important as they generate interest and give some background knowledge. It creates key vocabulary lists related to the article theme, background questions that prompt students to consider their own experiences or knowledge related to the topic. During reading tasks, while students engage with the article, ChatGPT can assist by generating comprehension questions the students need to answer to ensure they understand the content. Or creating discussions and role plays based on scenarios presented in the article. After reading, we usually do post-reading tasks to facilitate reflection and critical thinking through discussion questions when I want to delve deeper into the topic, summarization tasks where ChatGPT provides a model summary for myself, but students must create their own. Debate prompts based on controversies or dilemmas discussed in the article. There are also extension tasks to further extend the learning. ChatGPT can help by creating related writing assignments that require students to respond to the article themes, or developing projects and presentations where students delve deeper into the article's topics and research-related information. And finally, ChatGPT can assist in the assessment of students' understanding, provide feedback by drafting quiz questions that test key points from the article, or offering feedback on students' written responses or summarizes. And the last and most recent activity that I would like to share today is mini projects. So ChatGPT offered a detailed outline for a mini project focused on visual arts of the 20th century, exploring Ukrainian repressed and forbidden art and its impact. The tool described the activities and gave a detailed plan for each of them. Of course, I modeled it according to my needs and to my curriculum. I have to say that the outcome is really wonderful. My students have visited a cultural venue. They have written a reflective journal entry about artworks that impressed them most. After sharing their experiences in class, they have written a magazine-style article. And now we are on the stage of presenting. They show their articles. They tell us about the events or the artworks they have researched in depth. So to say that this mini project was good would be an understatement. Students have expressed great satisfaction with the outcomes. They had an opportunity to see actual art pieces, provide a tangible connection to the area they had been researching. And writing assignment helped them consolidate their observations and reflections. So this project was particularly valued for how it bridged personal engagement with academic purpose. And this tree of experiential learning and academic tasks grew from this one little seed. This was this short prompt that you now see on your screen. And some of the articles, the result I would like to show you that we just saw on yesterday's class with my students. So in conclusion, AI tools can serve language teachers similarly to traditional teachers' guides, acting as dynamic resources that make the teaching process easier. Just as teachers' books provide structured lesson plans, exercises, and answers to textbook queries, AI tools offer a versatile array of resources that can be tailored to our needs. They act as 21st century extension of the resources available to teachers, seamlessly integrating the art of teaching with the power of technology. So I think we should be innovators, we should be learners, staying informed and keeping up to date with the latest developments in artificial intelligence and language learning technologies. We need to ensure our teaching practices remain current and effective. So experimenting with new approaches and being open to implementing innovative teaching methods is, after all, what we do during our teacher careers. So thank you. Here you have the QR code, which you can scan and have the access to this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marta, for sharing your extensive experience with using ChatGPT for preparation of classes. And we have seen and listened that and heard that the two of you, Cesare and Marta, have put their accent on different aspects of using AI in a language classroom. Marta has shared a lot of her experience and thoughts when it comes to preparing for the language classroom. And Cesare has shared his experience, research, and reflections when it comes to also the importance of AI and the challenge it brings for us as teachers and directors and language education responsibles. You have also shown some applications in the classroom. So it's kind of also complementary to Marta's talk. And I would like to invite you all to use the 20 minutes we left to share your thoughts, to engage into a discussion, be it on the level of using AI for classroom preparation, be it on the level for using AI in the classroom to enhance the students' language skills, or be it discussing, debating about the challenge AI could bring to our profession, because indeed, this is also a point which shouldn't be underestimated. I think we really have to develop also a policy or an attitude towards language education and AI when it comes to our professional roles. Yes, well, the floor is open to all of you. Please just perhaps briefly mention your name, where you come from, where you work, just very briefly, and then share your thoughts or questions or whatever. We all try to see, yes, you can perhaps also just start speaking, because we might not see all the hands. If it's okay for you, just speak up. We try to, we can show your hand, but if we can't see it, just start talking. We all try to be attentive and follow.
We have a question in the chat that Pavla has asked. She has a question regarding writing exercises. How do you feel about your students using ChatGPT to produce their work? This is an interesting question. Marta, I don't know if Marta, Cesare would like to answer.
Well, we do use ChatGPT in class, but not to write, not to produce the writing tasks, but to compare what students have written by themselves, and to compare what ChatGPT can create. As for grading, evaluating of writing tasks, I never use AI tools. We write essays, articles, and other writing tasks on paper without using anything in class, so that so students understand that there is no use in using ChatGPT for writing, because ultimately they still have to produce their own piece of writing, which is going to be evaluated. But when we are practicing, when we are training, we use AI tools for feedback, for example, for feedback, for correcting mistakes, for comparing different pieces of writing. And then we learn on it, and then we do our own tasks on paper.
Thank you.
It's Pavla. It's Pavla here. If I wrote a question. Marta, thank you very much for answering. Actually, what I meant was you showed these lovely articles your students produced. Do I take it that they did produce it during the lessons? They wrote those during the lessons.
Yes. Yes,
Yes,
they wrote this article during actually not one, but 3 lessons. Okay. We were working together. We were discussing the stuff, and then they were writing. They submitted, they handed in the articles, and so that I have their variant, and then they made the design and all this stuff.
Yeah, yes, thank you. That made sense, because obviously what I most struggle with is that my students have to write most of their tasks outside the classroom, and then ChatGPT becomes an issue. So I teach I'm from Prague. I teach at the Prague University of Business and Economics, and we actually had to make quite a lot of changes to our syllabi to ensure that the work produced by students is their original work, or to change the activities accordingly, that students don't have to write as much. But it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Obviously, the technology is lovely, but this is an area which I still struggle with. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, if I can comment on that, it's a real problem if you want to avoid that student use ChatGPT by cheating, pretending that they wrote the written tasks themselves. As Marta said, I use these tools together with the students so that they can work on text, find out features of language in text, comparing different versions of text, and work on that. I ask them to be honest when they produce the written text for the exams. I'm not sure they actually are. I can check the results of their written tasks in oral exams, so that they can tell me how they wrote translations very often. I think translation can be very useful in this kind of activities, but it's an issue, because I've seen written works that really look like good text written by students and not by a machine. Somebody wrote that they use Copilot. I've used software that was supposed to check artificial intelligence written text, but not always they worked.
Okay. May I just challenge this a little bit? I think it all depends on the goals we have, and a lot of universities, of course, naturally care a lot about plagiarism or kind of plagiarism or lack of integrity. And I think it's very important that we as language teachers also, of course, align our critical thinking to what is going around in our context. So when it comes to academic writing, of course, we have to know what the expectations of the academic advisors are. Yes, do they expect their students in engineering to really prepare a text by themselves, or is it allowed to write it with the help of ChatGPT, for example? And then I think the integrity, the authorship is very important, so that we teach our teachers that they are responsible for the accuracy of the content. They have to be able to make sure that it's not a hallucinating content being produced, so that they have to take this responsibility and authorship. I think this is very important. And there again, when it comes to academic level of writing, we also have to communicate and interact with kind of, the departments and the study commissions and the universities about their expectations. And when it comes to language education, if our students want to learn Chinese or Japanese or Russian or Ukrainian or Italian, most of them, they really want to learn the language. They really want to interact with people. So I think we have to make very clear where we train which kind of skills, and where even in the language education, using ChatGPT or using in a competent way. We have a specialist here like Sara Cotelli from Switzerland, using machine translation in a competent, critical way. We have to teach students that, and we can teach them so that it helps them in their own language development, but that they understand the impact and the limits of these tools. So I think this is something we cannot avoid. And of course, we have to deal with plagiarism and integrity. It's an issue, but I think I'm very much, we have started thinking a lot about, yes, our role. I mean, you also mentioned it both. We also are facilitators. We are language models. We are also people who encourage interaction. So how are we going to integrate, or how are we going to rethink, if we have to, our role as language educators in higher education? And how are we going to make clear what the difference is between teaching language and encouraging students to interact also with other humans and not only with machines? Yes.
We have more questions. Sarah, that you've now just mentioned, has written that she is voiceless due to a horrible virus and has asked me to please ask Cesare the following question. I'd like to know how ethical it is to introduce our students' text in an open tool like ChatGPT. Shouldn't we be more careful? And then she has a second question, which is for both him and for Marta. Is it really your experience that we can ask ChatGPT to provide material at a certain CEFR level? My experience is the opposite, and I've tried to put text produced by ChatGPT in diverse tools, and at least the lexicon was all over the place and not specific to a level. So first, the question about the ethical issue of putting our students' texts into ChatGPT for feedback, and then secondly, the CEFR levels. Cesare, if you can maybe start.
Yes, if I understand that well, you have to be careful in using ChatGPT in the classroom. Was that the question?
I think it was more about how is it, Sarah, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Maybe you can just make sure that I'm saying correctly, but is it the idea about pasting our students' text into ChatGPT for feedback, for example, because it's not a regulated, and it was a privacy issue, Sarah? Is that what you're thinking? Okay. She's nodding and thumbs up, so that's it.
Well, I don't know about that. it's difficult that ChatGPT doesn't get texts. So you're saying because of privacy, we should ask our students.
And GDPR.
Well, yes, of course. Of course, we should ask our students before doing that. If they have something against that, we cannot give ChatGPT text by our students. That's a part of the ethical issues I mentioned in the beginning. I don't think my students would have any problems in giving me the permission to paste their work in ChatGPT, because it's a course. They know it's something that it's just for the course and not genuine text. Also because most of these are translations. They are not very well done, not professionally done translations. So it's not even an original text. It's just a translation. The other question was about
whether ChatGPT can really create text at a certain CFR level, or whether it's a bit all over the show.
not
Maybe
all,
you and Marta, maybe.
Not all of the time. We still have to check that. As Marta said, sometimes ChatGPT surprises us and gives us ideas that we didn't think of when we ask ChatGPT to give some input in materials creating and so on. Sometimes it disappoints us, and it's not really the kind of things we want. But the good thing I tried to point out in my presentation is that everything is negotiable. I mean, the first output is not what you necessarily have to work with. You can ask ChatGPT to correct the first output, to adapt the first output. You can suggest a different interpretation of a part of the text, and that's part of the new features that these tools have. It's not just like Google Translate. You got a translation, if you ask again, you get the same result. You can ask ChatGPT to consider different elements, so to adapt some features, and it follows. You really collaborate with ChatGPT to a certain extent.
Yes, thank
Yes,
you.
I would like to add just a few words. So, number one is I had probably 1 or 2 classes with some groups, 1 with some groups, 2 classes where we discussed all the issues, all the questions. We read a lot about artificial intelligence tools, about how are they reliable or not? Are they the ultimate evaluators of our work? Of course not. And students, it is definitely that students realize and understand all this, and students have the right to choose if they want to read this feedback or not. And number 2, this feedback is not always 100% correct or reliable, but again, here comes the time when students decide for themselves, and they can characterize, and they can analyze, and they can show me that I think this my variant is better, and I think this feedback that ChatGPT gave me is not very good. It's not that we rely on ChatGPT 100%, absolutely not. And another thing, I don't want you to have the impression that we never use anything else but ChatGPT, never. So of course we have textbooks. Of course we have a lot of different resources. ChatGPT is just another tool, like textbook, like BBC article or something. It's just another tool that we may use just to help ourselves in terms of resources or saving time. That's all. So yes, in the question of intellectual property doesn't go here, because students decide for themselves. They are old enough to realize to realize that it might be dangerous. So of course, no sensitive stuff, no. Yeah. Thank you.
More questions or comments?
Yeah, could I just add to this, please? My name is Irma. I'm teaching academic writing at the Delft University of Technology. And I teach 2 courses that involve writing at the moment, a grammar course. And there I find it a challenge when I set a writing assignment to make sure my students do not use any AI tool, because I know even if they say they're not, they'll be using it. And fighting AI tools, I think, is impossible. I think we have to accept that students will be using it. So that's a bit of a challenge. And what I do in my grammar courses is that I will set in-class writing assignments because I want to see if they've understood. But I also teach a master thesis writing course, and there the use of AI is allowed. And here there's a lot about ChatGPT, but my students also use DeepLwrite. They use I've forgotten DeepLwrite and Quillbot, for instance. There are a lot of other tools. So what we do in our thesis writing course, we teach students how to use them. And we spend a lot of time in peer feedback sessions as well. And students are very critical of the output of AI. And ultimately, what we try and tell our students to do is not to stray too far from the original. Because if you produce a text that ultimately is not yours, it's not authentically yours, how are you going to defend it? Because it's a thesis, so you have to defend it. If the gap between the text and the defense is too large, I think it makes for a very uncomfortable defense session. And I think ultimately in teaching, there's going to be a shift from written to critical thinking, or writing and critical thinking, and also from writing to spoken English, which is not necessarily a bad idea. And if we are afraid that we will spend less time teaching writing, or we will have to teach writing in a different way, we could perhaps change our focus to critical reading, because reading becomes a lot more important. And I think we all know that many of our students struggle when it comes to reading. So, I think that there are, AI is there to stay. We can't fight it. We'll have to teach our students how to use it. And there may be a shift from writing to spoken English, and from writing to reading, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Irma.
Just add a few words that I think our goal should be to teach our students to practice and to learn the language using AI tools, not to get the results, any kind of results. AI tools must be the part of training or practicing, not the results.
Yes, if I can say something, I totally agree with what Irma said. We have to change our syllabus, we have to change our objectives, and I think we also have an important role in guiding students to use these tools that will be used everywhere in the future professions. And I think the way we can teach them to be critical in the kind of output they get from that, in the kind of also bias they can introduce in our way of, in our lives, more generally, can be analyzed through the work we can do with them with language, writing, reading, speaking, interacting with these tools that will be there to interact with us in many different ways. And so this critical idea, this critical thinking is something we can foster also in our classes, and I think it will be useful for the students, and it will be required by employers in the future.
Okay, thank you very much, Cesare, and thank you very much, Marta. I think this is a call to us, a challenge we have to pick up to contribute to digital literacy in the language classroom. And I would like you to thank all of you to also contribute. And I hope this is even not the beginning, it's just a moment or a milestone in a continuous discussion on these issues, which will also be continued at our upcoming CercleS conference and hopefully also at other CercleS events. And I would really like to invite you all to continue contributing also by approaching us at CercleS. If you want to share some of your experience with II, further share, or if you want to share an article, or if you want to even start sharing your work in a project group. So please feel free to approach us, and thanks again. And yeah, let's keep being involved and committed to integrated AI in a critical and fruitful way for our profession. Thanks very much and have a wonderful evening. Hope to see you soon again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.